The judge in the Woolwich murder trial has told the jury that being a soldier of Allah is not a defence in law. Mr Justice Sweeney's remarks came at the very start of the closing speeches in the case of two Muslim converts accused of killing Fusilier Lee Rigby in May. Our Home Affairs correspondent Simon Israel reports.
Rarely have the scales of justice been so tested in the closing stages of such a major trial. The prosecution said the 12-foot gold-leafed figure that stands atop the Old Bailey had no blindfold, and that the jury in this case should not be blind to justice. They were again taken through the CCTV images of that day in May, when Fusilier Lee Rigby was run over, then mutilated. As they watched the pictures of Mujahid Abu Hamza, formerly Michael Adebolajo, and Michael Adebowale, who's now known by the name Ismail bin Abdullah, wandering around the scene, the prosecution described the evidence as overwhelming. Islam, he said, was not on trial, but an act of carnage for the purpose of retribution and retaliation. And to what followed after the two men had waited? The jury was warned not to be seduced by the idea that their sole objective was to commit suicide by being shot in the police response. They posed, the Crown said, a significant threat, but both deny a charge of attempting to murder a police officer. Mr Adebolajo's defence described it as the most ridiculous charge ever to be put before a jury in this country. Martyrdom, he said, was the only thing his client had in mind, and played to the jurors this film clip where a woman walked past him after the killing. It was an illustration, he said, that his client was not to be feared by those around him. In a somewhat rambling discourse, defence counsel for Michael Adebolajo described the killing as a political operation, and then proceeded to ask the jury whether his client had any real choice. He said it may sound a crazy argument, but he said while his client was not mentally ill, was there a possibility that he was delusional? Mr Adebolajo in his evidence described himself as a soldier of Allah and killing drummer Lee Rigby as an act of war. But the trial judge ruled today that does not amount to a defence in law to murder.